Hey, welcome back to the channel. I'm Corey Congilio, and if you watched the lesson I recently dropped on what I learned from Santana, that was a cool lesson that focused on the Dorian mode, Dorian scale, and more importantly, not only did it teach you how to play over Oye Como Va, it talked about how you can win this guitar. So my friends at American Musical Supply and I are teaming up to give away this PRS CE24 semi-hollow guitar. It's a really fun instrument. I've never played a 24 fret guitar for any length of time, maybe in a music store once. But that's what this is. 24 frets, bolt-on neck, semi-hollow guitar with a maple top, mahogany body. This limited run color called Ariza Verde. It's a cool guitar, and I thought I would give you a chance to kind of hear this a little more up close. We'll do a little demo, and then I'll talk about how I got the tone for that video. And I'm using the Podgo from Line 6 in that video, and I'm going to be putting out some more tones because it's fun to just start a tone from scratch. And I did that when I created the Santana sound that I have in the Podgo here. I'll make that tone available to you, all you Podgo users out there. You can click the link in the description, but more importantly, at the end of the video, or whenever you want, grab the link to enter to win this guitar, this PRS CE24 semi-hollow guitar that American Musical Supply is helping me put out. They're great folks, and you should have seen them pop up behind me. Yes, you did. All right, great. But no, in any case, it's a lot of fun to work with companies like that and get great instruments into fans and followers' hands. That's what we like to do. It's not a scam. It's a real thing. This is the guitar you're going to win. This one right here. All right, so let's talk about some specs here. The pattern thin neck is what they put on this guitar, so it's thinner than any neck I have in my studio here. So it's definitely a more faster feeling neck for sure, not as chunky. 24 frets is something different, and if you're somebody that wants a little bit more real estate, this is obviously going to do it for you, but it takes a second to get used to, but ultimately very fun to access a couple higher notes there. A lot of fun. So a semi-hollow guitar of this variety that's that thin, does it make a difference? Well, I'll let you be the judge of that, but I've had semi-hollow guitars and chambered instruments that once you play them against a more dense, solid guitar, you can really start to hear the resonance difference in both of them. So it's a really fun thing to have. So the snap of the bolt-on and 24 frets against the little bit of air moving on this is a cool pairing for sure. Now it's got the 85-15 pickups in it. From what I understand are a little hotter, a little bit punchier in the top end maybe. Just dialed up a basic clean sound. There's the neck sound right there. Very warm, very sort of round on the low end. Yeah, sounds good. Then I'm just gonna go right to the bridge. And it's definitely hotter. It pushes that patch a little bit to almost push a little break up there, a little distortion. Now in the middle positions are always underrated, and this guitar does a great job. Now, you have a volume and you have a tone. Yeah. So tone knobs, if you don't know this, great for just kind of pulling a little bit of top end off of the guitar, and we're going to do that a little bit later. But let's do the coil tap so we can get more single coil sound. So here is the non-tapped version. Oops, neck pickup. And as soon as I tap that neck pickup, I try to make it sound like a Strat. If I want to go back, a little thicker sound. Now, I always shied away from coil taps configurations on guitars until I played a bunch of PRSs. Watch some of my other videos. You can see how I'm going in between those sounds sometimes, and they really do a good job. I've used my DGT and S2 standard 22 fret guitar on the road when I had to go back, or I could only travel with one guitar or fly with one, and the coil tap really helped. So if I go to maybe the bridge, let's do the untapped. Tap it. So pretty convincing single coil bridge, and in the middle, about 6 different tones they like to say on board, I guess so. You start to move the tone knob and then whatever else you can come up with, right? So it's a very versatile instrument. Again, you can enter to win this guitar. Link in the description, all that kind of stuff. I mean, how cool is it of American Musical Supply and PRS to try to get these instruments in people's hands via contests like this? Very, very cool. Again, totally legit. This is the guitar you're getting. I'm sending it right from my house to you. All right, so let's talk about how I got the tone with the Pod Go. So it's a pretty killer tone for sure that we're using here. And like I said, when I'm building patches in a digital processor like this, I like to start from the ground up. And I always want to start with the amp, but let's give a little bit of background first. What I did was I tried to really take a look at what Santana has used over the years. And, you know, he's kind of done a lot of Dumble and Bluto tone type amps, but he's really known for playing the Mesa Boogie, the early incarnations of Mesa Boogie, like the Mark I or the Snakeskin that I think they did a sort of a reissue of. I don't know as much as I should about Boogie, but I did a little bit of research and I found out that when Randall Smith started kind of modding amps, they did this Princeton, and they turned this Princeton into like a 60-watt Princeton. They called Santana in to play it, and he said, "Oh, that amp boogies." And that's kind of where Boogie came from, because I believe it was like Mesa, you know, it was Mesa something was their company, I can't remember. Lots to remember in this gear world for sure. But since we didn't have a Mark I in the pod, I was like, well, let me go to the Mark IV, because as the Mark series evolved, you had some channel switching, cascading gain, which is another kind of Dumble-esque quality too. Now, I'm not saying that's anywhere near a Dumble, not that Dumble's better or worse, it's just that Randall Smith and Mesa Boogie, they created their own thing, they have their own sound, very successful for a number of years. I've kind of never warmed up to Boogies, but like with any amp, you got to figure out what they do and kind of play to their strengths a lot of times. So what I like to do when I'm building a tone is I'll start with the amp. And you'll see here, as I go to my amp selection, I picked Cali 4 lead. So that's like a Mesa Boogie Mark IV in the lead channel. Making sure I'm not tied up here on the cables. So once I do that, what I can do is, you can kind of see here where my lead gain and my drive and all that sort of stuff is. You can see my bass is really low. That's on purpose because I don't want it to get too muddy. I want it to be... I want those lows to be defined. Right? So let's strip everything away and just start with that amp tone, because this is what's going to happen when you fire up your pod. You're going to pick that amp. And then what's going to happen, oh, I have a delay on there by accident. Here we go. You're going to get a sound kind of like that. Now let's look at the speaker cabinet. Now, what's cool about the pod, there's a function in there that you can pair the amp with a speaker. Now, I always like to kind of choose the speaker because it'll drastically change the tone depending on what speaker you use with what amp model. And I settled on the 412 25-watt greenback. As I try to change and play at the same time, that doesn't work. So if you look at sort of the graphic here, you can see what the 25-watt greenback cabinet looks like for reference, so you can pair this on your own. And if we go back to the amp, there it is right there. So that's just it on its own. But nobody likes a dry guitar sound, so what I did was I pulled the spring reverb up. Let's turn that on and add that. Now you'll think, wow, that's a lot of reverb, and it is, but when you listen to me play in the lesson with the track, you're gonna really hear that it kind of fits in with it, and it gives that more sort of epic Santana. Right? Now we're getting closer. Now we're getting closer. All right, so now the secret to all this stuff. This is the secret. You go to your effects right here where you can select a parametric EQ. Now you could select any number of EQs, but with a lot of these digital boxes that are out there, they get a little crispy on the top end. So what do? I put a parametric EQ after the amps and listen to the high end. Turn it on. It got rounder on the top. It's a little more organic. Turn it off. Yeah, so here's the setting there. You can see that my high frequency is down pretty far, a good amount of mids. I didn't really touch any of them. I just kind of left those the same, but mids are our friends with electric. And it feels great. It feels really good. So I'm on the bridge pickup there, but I'm going to take the tone knob and I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. Let's get the edge off even more. In that kind of almost wispy. Turn it back up. Hear the edge that it has now when you turn the tone knob back up? You turn it down, it gets a little smoother. Yeah, you can turn the tone knob way down. Huge difference in just a little tone knob. So we got the amp, cabinet, parametric EQ, and reverb, and that's really all you need. Now, what I did was for fun, I threw in some other stuff. I threw in the duct delay, and I like that because, now, from what I researched, I think Santana uses delay on one song, and his tech turns it on or off backstage. So I thought, for fun, let's put the duct delay in, which will sound the delay after we're done playing. And really, it's just a few repeats, not much with regard to the feedback. I gotta be careful of this Apple mouse, it'll make my settings go crazy. Where am I at? Feedback, yeah, 32%, so not a whole lot of repeats. But you just hear it tail off, so if I was playing a high, there you hear it. So it adds a little bit of a sort of nuance, ambience, that kind of thing. I'll put the parametric EQ back on. And what I also did was I slapped like an LA, they call it LA Studio Comp. So it's like a LA2A type compressor. I'll put it on, and what's gonna happen, it's gonna hold my notes out a little longer. Turn it off. The note dies a lot quicker. So, I'll put this patch for you guys in the links in the description. It'll take you to the tabs and tracks folder, and I'll make sure that that one kind of lives in there. You guys can find it easily. And I put those in there so you can have fun with the Pod Go. You know, you can turn those on and off like foot switches. Okay, lots of fun. If you want to do a clean sound, what I like to do is just save that preset to another bank, or save that patch to another preset, and then go to the Mark 1 clean setting, play around with the settings in there amp-wise, and that way you still have the same cabinet, the same reverb, and all that kind of stuff. All right, lots of fun. We got a Pod Go tone. We got the sort of demo of the CE24 from PRS, semi-hollow CE24. Did I get all that? Yeah, I think I did. The biggest part of this whole video series is that you got to know we're giving this guitar away. There's a link in the description. You can enter to win the guitar. Thanks so much for watching because these are so fun. Can't do it without you guys. And not only that, there's a lesson on how to play really tasteful solos over Oye Como Va. I use this guitar, I use that tone, it all comes together. You get the idea, okay? You guys have been great as I'm trying to build my YouTube following, and I'm really enjoying getting to communicate with you guys with all of the crazy comments. So feel free to leave them below and reach out to me at my website. That's also in the description below. Talk to me about what you want to see, what you want to hear, and what you want to see me teach on. And don't forget, every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern, we have a live stream, no holds barred, cage match, question and answer session. I hope you join me. All right, I'm Corey Congilio, coming to you from Nashville, Tennessee in my studio. I'll see you on another video. Take care, peace, we out.